Excelsior! Once again, a companion ladder this time, leading to a loft. Not likely to be furnished, isn't it, though?
Here you are on holier ground, perhaps, than any, even in the salient. Perhaps 100,000 during the 3 years have climbed the stairs before you. Certainly some 20,000 in all have received the sacrament. Some 800 have been confirmed. Some 50 grown men were here baptized. The idlest mind would reverence the place, and you, I know, will kneel.
When Tubby first arrives in the house, the attic was only used for drying linen and storage. So he put up a sign, "Come into the garden and forget about the war." The first to enter his kind invitation was a shell, which landed roughly over here in this corner of the attic. Hence the room beneath us was dubbed 5.9 room, in honor of the first German visitor. Now, as soon as the repairs were done, the Royal Engineers entered their caveat against the soundness of the floorboards. First, 2 London sappers danced away and cheerfully assured Tubby that the place could withstand anything. The Lance Corporal above them nodded his head, pregnant with pessimism. So an appeal was lodged with the sergeant, who didn't think much of the whole affair. Next, the lieutenant, who inspected, tapped and condemned the joists. One day his captain walked in, who verbally countersigned the adverse verdict. So constantly new advice was sought until one day the colonel thrice condemned the chapel, the attic, as wholly unsafe.
After this we asked no more questions, but opened the chapel therein without more ado. On Sunday nights, for years on end, with 150 full-grown men squeezed in somehow, and 20 more upon the stairs, the upper room rocked like a huge cradle, until we were fain to ask a congregation drilled into habits of simultaneous movement to kneel and stand in lingering succession. On March 18th, 1918, a quiet day conducted by the Bishop of Lewes was held in spite of a slow, methodical shelling. Several shells landed within 50 yards of the chapel, but the quiet day went on. There was at such times a curious feeling of comfort and peace which threw the mind wholly upon the unknown will of God. The tiny light that burned above the altar shone with so tranquil a significance that some men preferred to go upstairs rather than down when the neighbourhood was unhealthy.
In the garden shed, Pettifer found a carpenter's bench, which was set aside immediately as the altar for the worship of the carpenter. Tens of thousands have taken the Holy Sacrament here, many taking their first and a few their last Holy Communion. The shrine of the salient gradually gathered around it many other memorial gifts. The Bishop of Winchester sent his son Neville Talbot these beautiful hangings from his private chapel at Southwark. Perugino's crucifixion, cunningly framed by the Queens of Westminster's, was set aside as the altarpiece. Many other artifacts were scrounged from local ruined churches and even the Ypres Cathedral. At Easter 1916, the Welsh Guards donated this beautiful green altar frontal to the chapel of the house. The confirmation chair was gifted in memory of a wonderful lad, Lance Corporal Archie Forrest of the Special Gas Company. He was baptized, confirmed, and received his first Holy Communion here in this little chapel, all in 6 short weeks' time, before he and many of the other Talbot Houses passed from this world to the next in that terrible summer of 1917. These candlesticks were carved out of a 4-poster bed and donated in memory of the Canadians and Australians from Hill 60 who worshipped here. From this little font, at least 50 soldiers were baptized. Britons, Canadians, New Zealanders, Australians, British West Indian natives, even Chinese came up here to worship. Chapel attendance was never compulsory, yet if one did attend, you'd soon realize the foundations of the house were underneath the roof.
I knew Tubby very well. He had a very deep voice. He could sing a good song. He could tell a good tale. Downstairs, he was the life and soul of the party. Up here, he's a different man altogether.
The service.
Without preaching, he could reassure everyone.
In 1917, Harry and his machine gun team received Holy Communion here before going into battle.
He knew, and we knew, there was someone in the congregation who wouldn't come back. And he knew it, and he tried to reassure us all that everything was all right. He knew damn well it wasn't, and so did we.
It wasn't just the floorboards that weren't quite stable. Major Street's harmonium had a little weakness at the knees as well. When the Major returned 6 days early from leave, he brought his wonderful instrument with him as a present to the upper room. Now during Holy Week 1916, Tubby managed to borrow Lieutenant Godfrey Gardner of the Royal Suffolk Regiment, organist with the Royal Philharmonic Society, to work his magic on the small groan box. And real knees he did have, so Tubby could fold it up, take it with him when he went slumming close to the front line. The services with the old chants and hymns would help you to forget the unknown tomorrow. Here, away from noise, squalor, death, one could find comfort, guidance, strength, and refreshment for the soul. Tubby? Well, he would continue to care for his Talbot Housians for the rest of his life.
Arthur, may I thank you very much for coming.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure to come here.
The Talbot House is a refuge. You could come here for a few hours. You could forget the war.
That was always one of the strange realities of life at the house. You never knew whom you would see again. But it's beastly shaking hands with boys who come in to say, well, goodbye, Padre, in case I don't come through. And some have such clear premonitions of death.